Nice to meet you.
You too, man.
Well, first off, I just want to say, man, congratulations on Primitive War. It looks so awesome. It's exactly what I wanted because it's dinosaurs, there's blood, and it's R-rated. It's exactly right up my alley. And what's really interesting is that this is an indie film, but Luke Spark, the director, really made it look and feel like a big studio blockbuster. With how ambitious the shoot was and seeing everything come to life on set, did you almost forget at times that you were shooting an indie film?
I don't think about the budget of a film. I'm just one of these people. I had an interesting conversation with an athlete, and he's someone that I respect, and he said, like, when you're acting, is it preseason? Is it when you're doing a take, regular season, playoffs, or the Super Bowl? And and it's like, wow, that's a really cool question. And for me, and it sounds so pretentious, but the stakes for me, I don't know how to give anything less than everything I have. And I think because of that, interestingly enough, I've been confused for my characters. And I used to be offended, you know, if someone called me Ari instead of Jeremy. But the reality is, if I do my job and I put everything I have into truly believing that I am that character and I fully commit to the moment, then people are going to get confused and think I am that character. So I did my job. And so on this film, I play Colonel Jericho, and he's one of these Southern lifers in the military that's seen it all, and it's a perfect character to drop into a dinosaur movie because he's never seen anything like this. So I didn't. The sets were beautiful. The script was great. Um, the actors were incredible, and everything was working. So I don't really think of the scope. The only real difference on set, to be honest with you, is when you're doing an indie, we don't have anyone weighing in on notes, so it's just kind of us, and we get to play and figure out the best way to do everything that we attack. And then the rest is up to it's out of my control. Um, there are so many perks to doing a studio movie, and one of them obviously is they have the reach and the power and the funds to really get the attention of people, and that's obviously very needed. Um, how do you break through all that? I think we're on to something special here, and like you said, I think they're not people love dinosaurs, and they don't seem to be satisfied right now, um, and they're looking for something like this, which is R-rated. Um, the language is authentic to the time, and because of that, it might be a bit jarring because they were saying things back then uh, that we haven't heard in a while. But you have to remember, it's a period piece. It's Vietnam, and we got to get that right. So they're saying words that we don't use now that could be offensive, and it could be, people could get triggered by it, but it's just a period piece. And yet we're jumping timelines and mashing it up with the dinosaurs, and it's bloody, and it's people are we just had our premiere, and we've had 50 million views on the trailer, and we sold out Comic-Con and no one left. And it's so I people the people have spoken, and I really love that.
Absolutely. And I've always been curious about how scenes with CGI are filmed. Like when you're in a fighting scene, for example, are you looking at something to guide you in? Like, and if there's nothing to guide you, does that make it harder to get into the performance, or do you find ways to make it feel real in the moment?
That's what we do. I mean, I'm a stage actor. I've been pretending since I was 8 years old. So for half a century, I've been pretending. And so if you drop me on a set and I can't pretend I'm shooting dinosaurs, then you need to retire me. You need to put me out to pasture, you know. Unfortunately, I can't do anything else, so I'm not going to be very useful. I can't fix your car. You know what I mean? I'm a disaster.
You can make me
Uh,
laugh.
I can make you laugh. Yeah, there you go. I'm on tour doing stand up, and you're right. And I do make people laugh. And oddly enough, when they come and see my shows, they say to me, "We didn't know you were this funny," which is crazy because, I've been done a lot of comedies on camera, so that's a real shot in the arm. Yeah, I was wrong. I misspoke. I can grab the mic and make people laugh for an hour.
And I want to go back to 1993 for a second. And for people who don't know this, you played Michael Barth, a character on Seinfeld, who's also known as TV George. I've always loved watching that scene where you're just auditioning as George because it's so spot on. And I read that you didn't watch Seinfeld before that. What was that moment like for you behind the scenes with Jerry, Larry David, and the whole cast? Like, were they just cracking up the whole time? And was Jason Alexander, like, did he say anything to you about your portrayal as TV George?
Well, the fact that you said spot on is just insane to me because I had never seen the show. And I was a series regular on the Larry Sanders Show, and we were on the same lot. And Gary Shandling was very good friends with Jerry Seinfeld. They're the same generation. They're both stand-ups and actors, and very close. And Jerry has really told me how much he respected the Larry Sanders Show, and it means a lot to me. And obviously, everyone loves Seinfeld. It's one of the most iconic shows of all time. But it was almost better because I was still thinking like a poor, struggling Chicago stage actor, journeyman actor. So I didn't have a TV. I was living in the pool house, and I was a series regular on the Larry Sanders Show. And I got this audition to play George, and I'd never seen Seinfeld, but I talked to Jason Alexander on the lot, and he's a really great guy. And so I just did my impression of how I thought he would play it, and it worked somehow. And then I had Jason directing me on how to do it, but then I had Larry directing him, directing me. So there were three generations of George Costanza, which is very surreal, and it was really fun. And I'm glad that I didn't really have a reference for those guys, so that I could just experience them as people. They're great guys, all of them, great cast and fun to work with, and they're just great at what they do, and people are still watching today.
Yeah, and it's a testament too to how great you are as an actor, as a performer, as a comedian. Like I said, you're great at making people laugh. And obviously, one of your most iconic characters is Ari Gold in Entourage. And I know a lot of people want to see a reboot. I'm not gonna ask you if there is gonna be a reboot. I know people probably ask you that all the time, and it's probably up in the air. But I will ask if that ever happened, where do you think Ari would be today? With especially how much the industry has changed with social media streaming. I'm really curious on your take on that.
Great question. I think that, and I'm not just saying this, that I believe that with everything that we've been through as a culture, and where we are now, I think someone like Ari Gold would be fascinating to see how it affected him and his professional life. Um, because we don't have to look too far. The Ari Emanuels of the world, who my character is based on, let's be honest, he's become, he's ventured out into sports management. He, grabbed a group and they bought the UFC, they bought the WWE. And so he's navigating so many, these talent agents have diversified and they're really become more prolific. So I think they're fascinating. How would a guy like that, how would he have fared? All of this culture, he would have offended people along the way. How did that play out? Did it take him down? Is he back? How is he navigating? Um, so I think it's just incredibly fertile ground to play in. And I think it's a perfect way, I think, creatively to show what we're all going through the perspective of an alpha male, rich guy, wealthy, uh, prolific, successful dude in Hollywood. How is how has it affected him, and how does he navigate now? Um, so I think it would be really fun to play, and how did it affect Lloyd? You know, um, there's just so much that we could play with, and the audience has grown. I mean, I can tell you firsthand because I know, because I go all over the country and the world do my stand up. So people stop me on the streets, and I have guys in their late 20s, I'm sorry, late teens, early 20s, who are these babies that have started binging it at the pandemic. So we have a whole new audience, and I think it would be I I think there are a lot of people that would tune in.
Absolutely.
It would be up to us to fuck it up
Yeah,
or to
exactly.
thrive, but we would have an incredible audience.
Incredible, and you guys would have an incredible time doing it, 100%. And what's interesting is that I watched an old interview with James Gandolfini where he was asked if he worried about always being known as Tony Soprano. He said that if you make the right choices, you can get around it. So for you, was there ever a worry that playing Ari Gold so well might make it harder for you to break away from that for future roles?
Well, it's interesting. That's a great question. And Gandolfini, God rest his soul. Um, I just remember, they were kind of ending as we began. And I remember as an entourage cast, we were there promoting. Um, we were doing some sort of Q&A in Vegas, and we ran into face to face with the entire cast of The Sopranos. And I looked at Jim Gandolfini and I said, "Man, you guys are intimidating." You know what I mean? And he's like, "You ain't seen nothing yet," you know. And he's just this, sweetheart of a guy who played that character brilliantly, and it'll live forever. Um, and I never thought, because you have to understand, I did 40 movies before Entourage, and I had played, the gay Versace salesman in Rush Hour. So I had played Lloyd. So in my perspective, I'm thinking, I'm a stage actor. I love to play all these different characters. And now I'm playing the type A, over the top, powerful agent. Okay, this is fun. Let's do this. I haven't played this guy before. So I didn't think, oh, I'm going to be typecast. But my mother, who I ran lines with for everything I've ever done, she's been my acting teacher my whole life, and my father was. My mother passed away recently, and she said to,
My condolences, by the way, I saw, yeah.
"Thank you." So my mother, when we were running lines, she said, "Be careful." I said, "Why?" She goes, "I know the way you play characters." And she knows that I throw myself in completely and utterly. And she's like, this is a series, and I see the way you're playing this character, and you're all in. And be careful because people might think that you are this character. And I thought, Mom, you're crazy. And she's like, no, 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 think about that. Think about that. And she was right. She was absolutely right. I couldn't see it. I thought she was crazy, but she was absolutely right. And that can affect a lot of things, and it can affect the way people see you, the way they refer to you, um, on many different levels. It you know it can affect your life. And man, she was right. She was absolutely right. But we're exactly where we're supposed to be, and we were supposed to learn all these lessons. And everything that we go through is a gift.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. And, talking about Entourage, how it was so iconic and groundbreaking, you obviously got to work in so many movies and shows. But obviously, another one I want to mention is Old School with Will Ferrell, Luke Wilson, Vince Vaughn. That movie is still quoted all the time after all these years. Do you ever
Hmm.
miss comedy movies like that where they kind of push the boundaries a bit and actually made you laugh out loud? Or do you think comedies today are moving in a good direction?
Well, I think when you look at the numbers, and I think that the streamers and studios are, I think, uh, people are thinking more logical now. I can feel it. And when you look at the numbers of Happy Gilmore or even the roast of Tom Brady, and people are going, hold on a second, everyone's watching this. And the roast of Tom Brady was pretty raunchy. And people just want to laugh. We need some escapism. And if something is done well, like my mother said, you can say whatever you want in this house as long as it's funny. And I think we need to get back to that and sharing funny stories and R-rated comedies. I think the people that commit to those are going to win. That's my take on it because I know people just want to see it. I'm performing and I see what makes people laugh. And if it's funny, it's funny, you know? Just making it raunchy doesn't make it funny. But if you're telling a story and you're relaying something, you got to be authentic to the story.
I want to mention you mentioned Rush Hour 2, and that was you had a small but very memorable role in that movie. It's so
Yeah.
funny. But I want to know because I saw the bloopers of that film. Your lines in the bloopers were different than what was actually in the film. So was that scene just improvised or like, can you talk about that? Like I mean the what
Well,
Brett
let me.
yeah.
How about this? I'll tell you what the script for my character was, and you tell me what you think.
Okay.
I played the saleswoman. I'm not making this up. I played the saleswoman. That's the name of the character. So I was the wrong gender. Let's start there. And this is before people were switching. Everyone was switching over. So I'm just a guy playing the saleswoman. My line was, "May I help you?" That was my only line. I made scale, so I made a few $100 for the role. I made enough to eat that night. Went out with Chris Tucker. He and I we went to go see Cirque du Soleil together. And he kept going, "Damn, dude, for real, I'm blessed. I'm blessed." He just kept screaming, "I'm blessed." It was amazing.
Oh my God. So okay, so you did you improvised the whole thing then. That's incredible, man.
I
That's
improvise everything. Yeah, but I mean that's there's nothing special about that. That's what I do. I've been doing that since I was 8 years old.
But to
That's my
but to
training,
but to
my
improvise
background.
well though, that's the difference, right? You can improvise and sometimes it doesn't land, but the fact that you did that and it became the lines you said, buttercream, crack skin, butter, and just the things you were saying, man, it just landed so well.
What's below the waist? Mystery meat. Let's go in.
Hey,
Ooh,
hey,
sweetness. Let's
oh,
pull some
sweetness.
items.
That was so funny, man.
Sweetness. Um, yeah, I talk about I unpack that entire story on stage. Um, it's like a 10-minute bit, and I do every character. I do Jackie Chan, Chris Tucker, me, the whole thing. Mike Tyson ended up on set. He was shopping. He wandered onto set, didn't see any of us, and then, bro, it's the most insane story.
I want to mention another small but memorable scene too that you were in with Heat with Michael Mann directing it. And
Yeah.
that's a big shift from your comedic roles. And you got to act alongside Robert De Niro, which is incredible, obviously an icon. I know you weren't in the scene with De Niro and Pacino in the diner. I know that was their first encounter on screen together. And I heard the whole entire crew was just watching them in awe. They're mesmerized. Did you ever get a chance to be on set on that day just to watch it all unfold, or you didn't get the opportunity to watch that?
No, I didn't get a chance to watch that, unfortunately. Um, I'm a huge fan of both of them. I got lucky to work with Al, and he's just a sweetheart. He's just a sweet guy, and he's just, they're both. You think of them being very, very similar. They're both very different. I mean, Al is a theater actor, who at the table read, he's performing. You know, she had a big ass. you
Great
know?
ass.
Yeah,
Yeah, incredible.
exactly.
I love everything that you've done, man, and that you continue to do. And again,
Thank you.
congratulations on Primitive War and for your time today. Lots of great stories and lots of laughs, and hope to stay in touch, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. I'll see you again. I'll
Yeah.
see you again for my film, The Performance.
Yes, please. Yes, I'll talk to Paul about that, okay? Congrats.
Thank you, buddy.
Ciao.
Good luck with the marriage.
Hey, thank you.
And I look forward to the young Pacino story.
Hoo-ha!
I
Bye, man.
love it. See you, man.